You ever notice how silence out in the woods is never just quiet? It's got this buzz, like it's daring you to finally let your guard down, like it's holding its breath, just waiting for the next damn thing to happen. I learned that lesson the hard way, let me tell you. I moved out to North Georgia to escape the grind, to buy 6 acres of my own, trees, space, a little bit of peace for a man who'd had just about enough of neighbors, traffic, and rules about the height of your grass. I figured if you want quiet, you gotta buy it with distance. What I didn't know? Sometimes the distance just makes the nosy people try harder. I'd barely settled in. Hadn't even figured out how to keep the raccoons off my porch when trouble came rolling down my driveway. It was a white SUV with a Birch Point Estates decal on the door, which should have been my first red flag. But you know how you don't want to jump to conclusions? 2 women step out, matching blue polos, clipped hair, the kind of coordinated energy that makes you want to check your wallet. The tall one, sunglasses and a smile so thin it could slice bread, introduced herself. Karen Fletcher, HOA president, and her sidekick Susan. Didn't ask my name. Didn't care. Your property now falls under the expanded observation zone for Birch Point Estates, Karen chirped, flashing her tablet like it was a badge. We'll need you to sign your declaration and acknowledgement at the office this week. I nearly spit out my coffee. I'm sorry, my what? She beamed, never missing a beat. Declaration of community participation. You're in the adjacent influence area now. Anything above 4 feet, any landscape changes, that's got to go through us. You know that moment where you just know you're in for it? That was mine. I pulled out my parcel map, showed her the lines, my lot, rural, no HOA. She didn't blink. That's an old map. We've updated ours. I laughed, couldn't help it. You can update your wallpaper for all I care. That doesn't make it law. Karen's smile finally twitched. Susan muttered something about no need for hostility, but they left, tires spinning, a little dust storm as they drove off. I stood there, heart thumping, thinking, okay, so it begins. Next morning, there's a plain white envelope stuck in my gate. No return address, just a typed sheet. You have failed to provide verification of ownership. HOA will proceed with measures to resolve unauthorized occupancy. Right. I tossed it in my evidence folder. That afternoon, there's a shiny metal sign by my mailbox, monitored by Birch Point HOA. Not for long. It went straight to my tool shed. I added cameras, made coffee, and braced for the next round. It came fast. 3 days later, a county cruiser pulled up, lights flashing, but no siren. The officer steps out, asks if I'm Justin Emerson. Got a call from your community rep, he says, flipping his notepad. Possible squatter. Armed, maybe. No proof of ownership. You're kidding. He wasn't. But I'd come prepared. Deed, map, lawyer's letter. I lay it all out on his hood, calm as can be. He reads it, checks his laptop, and finally shakes his head. Everything checks out, sir. Sorry for the intrusion. If they keep pushing, lawyer up. Trust me. Turns out Karen called it in, told dispatch I might be dangerous. That's not a neighborly complaint. That's a felony-grade play. So I did what anyone who's seen one too many bad HOA stories would do. Made a digital folder, labeled every incident, started a timeline. If they wanted war, I was ready to go full evidence mode. Didn't take long for things to get weird. The next morning, a drone started hovering over my backyard. Same time every day, slow and deliberate. You know that feeling when someone's watching you? Multiply it by 1,000 when it's a drone with a camera. That wasn't all. Someone started slipping bulletins into my mailbox. HOA updates about unverified occupants and border integrity. Not naming me, but making it crystal clear who the threat was supposed to be. They even had aerial photos, taken from that same drone. One afternoon, I saw a guy in khakis filming my house from across the road. No wave, no hello, just a silent audit like I was a criminal. Later, a new sign appeared. You are entering a Birch Point managed zone. Compliance expected. I took pictures, filed them, and called my lawyer, Eric Feldman, the only guy more stubborn than me. Eric laughed at first. Then he saw the drone footage and the HOA bulletins. They're manufacturing the appearance of jurisdiction, he said. If they get enough people to buy it, you're the problem. Not legally, but that's not the game. They're trying to drain you dry with reputation sabotage. So I doubled my cameras, added floodlights, started poking around online. Found a local forum, posted anonymously. That's where the twist came in. Someone called E. Quiet Voice messaged me, said, You're not the only one. I was on the board. She's done this before. Next day, I had a whole zip file, leaked emails, meeting notes, even a thread from Karen. If we don't make this stick, the whole perimeter model collapses. That's when I knew this wasn't about rules. It was about power. I met with a reporter. Daphne, sharp, no nonsense, looked like she'd rather be covering real news, but understood a good fight when she saw one. Gave her everything, but told her to hold the story until I was ready. Meanwhile, Eric filed a formal complaint, demand letter, county DA, civil suit for harassment and defamation. The HOA's drone disappeared overnight, but the silence felt like the eye of a storm, not the end. And then came the real twist. That same leak, Quiet Voice, sent me an audio recording of a closed HOA meeting. Karen, on tape, saying, "Push every button. If that means calling law enforcement, so be it." It was the final puzzle piece. Eric gave me the go, Daphne ran her story, and by sunset my phone was lighting up with calls from folks all over. Neighbors, strangers, people who'd been bullied, people who'd been fined for mailbox paint, all saying, "Thanks for standing up." But Birch Point didn't back down, they just changed tactics. Suddenly, trash started appearing near my mailbox, patrol cars rolled by slow, folks paused to film my fence. Noise complaints started rolling in, deputies knocked on my door about unauthorized construction. I showed them footage, just me, pulling weeds, moving lumber. They apologized, told me the HOA was over-communicating, and left. Then Karen and her crew took it to the next level, mailed out bulletins to residents outside their own neighborhood, complete with drone shots and claims of community under siege. That was invasion of privacy, clear as day. Eric was furious. We added more charges to the lawsuit. Meanwhile, Karen sent me a letter threatening emergency protective action if I didn't comply. My lawyer's answer? Let her try. The next weekend, they hosted a community standard celebration. Tents, speeches, the whole parade, right along my fence so I could see. Karen made sure everyone knew who the threat was. I just stood there, sipping a beer, waving when they looked my way. The message was clear. You can make as much noise as you want. I'm not budging. That's when Angela Rivera showed up, a neighbor who'd been fined for painting her mailbox the wrong shade of white. She told me Karen was spreading rumors, saying I was dangerous. Angela handed me a burner phone, said, "If I hear anything, I'll record it." And that, right there, is when I knew the tide had shifted. People were scared of her, but they weren't on her side. Court day felt like a showdown in a dusty old western. Me and Eric on one side, Karen and her lawyer on the other. The judge was brisk, wanted it over. Eric started with facts, deed, boundary, footage, HOA bulletins, 911 call transcript. Karen on record making false claims. Then came the leaks, the emails, the recording from the meeting. Karen's lawyer tried to play the good faith card, said she was just protecting her community, but it didn't stick. On the stand, Karen shrank, tried to play innocent, but couldn't explain the drone, the signs, the phone calls. The judge didn't mince words. You are not law enforcement. You are not zoning officials. You are neighbors. And you forgot what that word means. Verdict: $285,000 in damages, restraining order, HOA barred from contacting me or coming within 250 feet. Karen didn't look at me as she left. But Susan, her loyal shadow, mouthed sorry before following. After that, everything cracked wide open. The neighborhood forums blew up, folks demanded a new board, and Karen voluntarily stepped down. Angela texted me, said the vote wasn't even close. Birch Point was leaderless, the old guard gone, the new board running on a single platform. Don't be Karen. That was good enough for me. Funny thing, my story went a little viral. Not big time, but enough that I became the fence guy at the hardware store. Folks asked me for advice, some thanked me for standing up. One morning, a handwritten note arrived. "I owe you thanks. I never thought I had the right to fight back. You showed me I'm not crazy." That got to me. I just wanted peace, but apparently you stand up once, and suddenly you're the guy who says no more. A few petty things lingered. Trash dumped, a kid with spray paint trying his luck, but nothing stuck. The real trouble had left. I had a new granite sign put up at my gate. Private property, not your HOA, not your business. Cost a fortune. Worth every penny. The local meme pages loved it. Angela dropped by with cookies, Let me know Susan stepped down too. Birch Point was chaos. Good. Sometimes chaos is better than tyranny. 3 months later, the silence finally felt earned. No more signs, no more drones, just trees, wind, and the low hum of my greenhouse heater. Karen never came back. Her house went up for sale, sold quietly. The new board asked if I'd attend a community dialogue. I declined. I had my peace. Funny how these fights start small and get huge. How someone's need for control can almost become law if nobody pushes back. Out here, all I ever wanted was a bit of space, my own rules, no one telling me what color my fence had to be. Turns out, standing up for yourself can ripple out farther than you think. The real ending? It came the morning I found a box on my porch. No label, no invoice. Inside, a shiny metal sign. Same style as mine, just red. Mind your fence. I'll mind mine. With a note. Thanks for going first. Never figured out who sent it. Didn't need to. Because out here, I finally had what I fought for. Land that was mine. Peace that didn't need permission. And a quiet that wasn't just silence but victory. If you've ever tangled with an HOA or had someone try to invent rules for your life, drop your story below. Tell me, where do you draw your line? What does justice look like in your neighborhood? I want to hear it. Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and peace is the one person willing to say enough.